So what does a social media manager actually do? And how do you position your offers and services to actually get more opportunities and clients? Now, in this video, I'm going to answer all of your questions on social media management and how you can get started as a beginner and eventually building into a social media management business, where it's one of the fastest growing industries today. Hi, I'm Laurie Wang. I've been a digital marketing consultant and a freelancer for over a decade. I've seen the entire industry evolve from what just to be a few social media channels to now being an entire fast-growing industry where you can actually create a living and actually a thriving business out of it. On this channel, I share my business journey on how I run my digital marketing training consulting company underneath my personal brand, and also share social media tips and tricks on how to level up your business and also growing your brand going forward. So if that all sounds good, hit that subscribe button and let's get connected. Also, if you stick to the end of the video, I'll be telling you about the story of how I stumbled into social media myself and how I got started in this industry as well. Now, I think social media management is actually more than just posting on social media every day. And there's a lot more to it that social media managers actually do on a day-to-day basis that helps to create the overall success of growth on social media. Now, if you watch one of my previous videos on how to get started in digital marketing, then you probably understand that digital marketing, similar to social media, is that you want to actually pick a specialism that you can ultimately hone in on and become the go-to person of that particular platform. Now, these are platforms that perhaps you really enjoy using on a day-to-day basis. So for me personally, that's LinkedIn, Instagram, and also YouTube. And because you're using it every day on a regular basis, you will know all the ins and outs of that platform, how to leverage the best practices, and also the best tips and tricks that your clients can leverage eventually to actually up-level their own business on those platforms as well. So generally, what does a day in the life of a social media manager look like? Well, on some days, you may be creating a content calendar for your clients, where essentially it's the upcoming content that you'll be looking to post on their social media channels going forward. And on some other days, you might be creating a social media strategy for the new clients that are coming on board. So essentially a whole new strategy based on what they're looking for, the channels they're looking to be on, and what you think is the right approach for their accounts. You could be also creating a content strategy plan, which I can touch on in this video, essentially digging into the much more in-depth detail about, let's say, the tone of voice of your content, how you're looking to engage with your audiences with your content, and all around different areas, the pillars that you can create content around, the themes and the topics that's relevant to your clients' businesses. Now, you might be doing reporting also on the paid and organic social media campaigns that you've done for your clients. And sometimes you might even be dipping into the creative side of yourself and creating the actual content in places like Canva, where you can mock up a really great creative very quickly, and using video platforms, let's say iMovie or Adobe Premiere, to create those short form videos as well. Or even using mobile apps like InShot, which I talked about in some of my previous videos on some of the best apps to use for social media. And last but not least, you may be also doing some business development. So for example, doing social media proposals for potential new clients to bring them on board. And let's not forget that you'll be also doing community management for those ongoing campaigns. So essentially managing those conversations that others might be engaging on the content that you're sharing on behalf of your clients. So lots of things going on a day-to-day basis, and I guarantee you there will never be a same day. And that's why it makes this job or this career or potentially this business really interesting for someone who's looking to learn very much a lot from day one. So let's say you're just getting started on your first client, or perhaps you just got started on day one of your job as a social media manager. So what are you going to do? Number one is that you want to get access to your clients' accounts. And this is very important because without access, you can't actually do much for them. Now, my best tip for this is that each account is very different. So you definitely want to have a checklist for you, so therefore you can share that with your clients and they can see all the different things they need to do in order to share the account details with you. And I actually have all these written up in a Google Doc document where my clients can actually access it from anywhere and be able to follow that instruction simply from step one all the way to the end. And by doing this beforehand, you're going to save yourself so much time and hassle actually just sharing that standardized document with them every single time, or every time they bring on a new client on board as well. Now, there's an app that I shared about before called LastPass, and your clients can actually share their logins with you directly without you having to see the password. And this is essentially done through a Chrome extension, which is really easy to use. And I recommend checking it out so you can use it with your clients as well. Now, of course, if they don't currently have an account on those social media platforms they want to be on, then you can actually set up a profile for them and then share the account details with them so they have access from day one. Step number 2 is that now you have all the access in place. Now is the time to create a social media strategy and content management plan for your clients. I actually have a much more in-depth video about social media strategy, which I'll link to in the description below of this video. However, the one thing I want to mention is that you definitely want to have the target audience in mind. So research your target audience beforehand is super important. Also, selecting the right social media channels for your clients to hang out on these platforms, and ultimately knowing what your overall business goal is. So you can actually link up your social media goal with your business goal. So ultimately, you want to make it worthwhile to spend the time day in and day out using these social media platforms, especially valuable resources, right, for your clients' businesses and also their money. And in your reporting, you can easily link up to how your social media strategy and your social media results have actually helped their business in the long term. It's also important to remember that social media is a two-way conversation, and that's how you build the like, know, and trust factor with your audiences on these platforms. So it doesn't work if a social media manager just posts the content and actually leave the audience hanging. You want to actually be in there day in, day out to answer the engagements that your clients have actually left comments and also left inquiries on the back of your social media posts. This is how you can ultimately build a community behind that brand and behind that business. And on the other side of that screen, we're posting to someone who's actually watching and reading our captions and watching our videos. So it's really important to make sure that we are actually speaking out to them and engaging with them on a conversation too. Step number 3 is that now you will need a social media content plan and a content strategy behind that. It's important to remember that social media varies very much from platform to platform. And actually the type of content that will perform well on one platform will really differ from the other ones as well. So you want to make sure that you're creating the right format, the right length, the right type of content for that platform to thrive. If you currently run a podcast, for example, it's really important to think about how do you actually convert that podcast content, which is audio based, into something that can be used for Instagram Reels and also TikTok, for example, where it's actually very much video based. So this is where you can think about how to convert either the video shooting of the behind the scenes of the podcast or potentially using the audio, making it into an audiograph that turns to a video that you can show on your Instagram and also TikTok. If you want to find content ideas and unlimited ideas for that matter, answerthepublic.com is a great place for that, where you can essentially type in the topic that you're thinking about for this particular business or this particular industry. And it will actually give you all the different questions that people are asking around on the internet and also via social media, that you can gather lots of ideas on the challenges and problems that people might be having and how you can address them in your social media content. Within that content strategy, you also want to have an idea of how frequently you'll be posting to these channels on behalf of your clients, for example, or also when are the best times to actually post the channels too. Now, you can find all of these through the insights and analytics if your clients already have existing social media channels, or alternatively, you can also be looking at potentially running a campaign for some time for them on their brand new channel and then seeing when the best time they can post on there as well. And now step number 4 is that you want to create an engagement plan on the back of how you're looking to engage with your audiences even further on these social media platforms. Now, creating great content is fantastic, but you want to think about how do you actually create more engagement on the back of the social media content you're posting. The first way is to include call to actions in your content. And that means calling out to your audiences to actually take an action on the back of what you're saying. So actually ask your audience to take these actions with very specific instructions. So for example, add your ideas in the comments below. What other ideas would you add? And follow more for tips like this. So on some platforms, let's say on Instagram, you can actually run a poll to the audiences to ask them for their opinions on something. And similarly, on LinkedIn, you can do the same as well. And what this does is that not only giving you the engagement that you can actually now engage back to your audiences based on the conversation you're having with them, but also you can create a bit of insight into where your audiences might be interested in going forward. Lots of instant feedback that you can use in your social media content, and it actually can be really helpful as well in the long term. Another way to create engagement is competitions. So competitions can be a great way to not only grow your audiences faster, but also find a way to collaborate with other influencers and brands. Because in the competition, if you create the right prizes that your audiences are interested in and they want to contribute to be part of the competition, then they can easily add and tag other people within their network to be included within the competition. On top of that, they can share easily with others as well. Lastly is that you want to encourage users or followers of your account to create content on the back of your product or services. And what this is that you can actually create a brand hashtag. So it could be hashtag your brand or your brand plus something, where essentially it will allow your fans, right, to actually tag the content they're creating with your hashtag. And not only is that a way to amplify your brand in front of all of their audiences and sharing about what they love about your product and also your services, but also another great way for you to highlight and actually repost some of these content on your own feed to highlight your loyal fans and to give them a shout out as well. Now, there are actually lots of other creative ideas on how you can create engagement on the back of your social media content, but for every brand is different, so it's all about being creative. And step number 5 is creating reports on the back of your social media campaigns. And this is where you can demonstrate the hard work that you put in for your clients to showcase how much you've actually created results for them over the long term. So have an idea in mind of the kind of metrics that you want to actually track for your clients, and also how that ties back to the overall business goal and social media goal that they have in mind. It could be around audience growth, audience engagement, maybe click-through rates on their websites, email subscriber growth that resulted from social media, and all these contribute back to the overall business goal as well. The beautiful thing that I love about social media and digital marketing is that everything is trackable, and creating a simple, jargon-free social media report that you can showcase to your audiences and also to your clients on how much you've actually created a result from their brand can be ultimately the powerful thing in your arsenal that helps you get more referrals and also more businesses in the long term. And lastly, I want to share a story of how I got into social media. So long time ago, dating myself a little bit here, when I still remember Facebook was called thefacebook.com, that's when I started dabbling into social media. And that's when social media was only just a few channels in the scene. So I remember for the likes of Facebook and Twitter, for example. And this is the time when I realized I wasn't super passionate about the industry that I was in at the time, just coming out of university. And from that point on, I decided to actually explore other options. I had a friend who was actually working for a digital agency in New York, where I was from. And by the time I was looking into this, I was in London. But he actually connected me with a friend in London where we had a coffee and talked all about what he did on a day-to-day basis. And I was just fascinated. I was like, wow, you can actually do this as a job. So that's when I decided to actually explore more into it. And by the time you know it, they actually had an opening in their team. And a few months later, after a few more interviews with their team managers, I actually got my first start as a fresh start in social media. And that's where my whole entire world just completely shifted. I had the lucky chance to actually see the whole entire industry change from what it was before to all the way to now, a decade later, where essentially social media became one of the most important things that you can have in your marketing plan, and probably one of the most important areas as well to grow an online brand. And I realized this is actually an area I'm really interested in because the fact that it's constantly changing. And I'm someone that gets easily bored. So when actually I get to learn lots of things on a daily basis and having to keep on top of the social media growing curve, that is where I believe that keeps my job really interesting and ultimately allow me to create a thriving business on the back of that as well. So I invite you to get your feet wet and just get started and start testing and learning. That is one of the best ways to learn in social media. And if you're interested in the whole entire story, the origin story of how I got into digital marketing as a whole, then you can actually watch the video, which I'll link to in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a comment below. And also, if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. All right, thank you for watching. Have a great day and see you in the next video.